Are you recording my voice? Yeah, okay, cool. That's really interesting.
Are you there, bud?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry,
Very.
man. I did a 50-minute workout and drank 2 liters of water before this, so that was a bad
That's
idea.
no problem, man. You know, it's really interesting. Just like as a brief glance at this data, you and I are. And it's only a short lap, so there's not going to be that many differences. But you and I are really similar in our approach through a lot of the lap, and then you get to this little section here, this real tight, twisty section, and you pull a gap. So if we go down to here, by the time we get to the final corner, so from I guess the exit of the hairpin, like the first really tight hairpin, until the final corner, you go from like a couple of hundredths down to nearly a tenth up. So you gain. I mean, I guess this is still just 1/10 we're talking about from here to here, but when you look at the speed trace, we've obviously got a very different method through here. I'd argue yours is probably better actually.
So I went on board with you and saw that you were going through second gear. I tried that, but I just felt the rotation was a bit.
Yeah, and you're
terrible.
doing first, so maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it goes in that little bit better.
So I just go down to
Interesting.
first, right at the apex, just to rotate,
Yeah.
and the engine braking turns me, and then gear up.
And this higher speed here. The thing is though, if you hadn't told me about the gears there, if we hadn't like looked at the gears, I think just from the apex speeds, certainly this one here, you can see that we've just got like an overlap, and when you look at the line as well, you're willing to go wider around here, and obviously that's letting you carry this more speed here to here, and that's where you go from this. You're like 2/10 down on me at this point, and then you go like 2/10 up at this point, and then we nearly meet back in the middle. So there's obviously like there's this crossover of distance and speed at a particular time, whereas I'm just travelling a much shorter distance around here, but you're carrying more speed. So we kind of cross over at this part, and I'm having to go slow to compromise here, whereas you're happy to let it run a bit wider, so you gain, but then you lose on the next part because I've compromised here, I then gain just here. But overall, if you look at kind of like here to here, there's barely anything in it, but there is something in it. And this is all assuming that we both completely maximised our version of the technique. We could probably take a bit of each of them. So I'd say keep using your first gear here. Where you're using it again there. Yeah, interesting that you're letting it run wider, but you're still going down to first. That is interesting. But yeah, I mean, I would say that
Yeah. So what I find there is that I think if you ever look at the sorry.
No, sorry, carry on. I didn't say anything.
I usually find just floating out there and just sort of holding that throttle without planning it, and then it sort of just builds up, and then just kind of smash it. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
and I'm doing a really short line here, going to full throttle, fully lifting to get back to here. And actually, interestingly, this bit from here to here is the part of the track I felt I was doing the worst. You know, it's the part that every lap I was like, oh, this feels a bit awkward. And what that is me trying to. Let me just zoom back to the whole thing. Come on, Garage 61. Yeah, it's basically me trying to go through here a little bit too tight. And your line where you've let it run out wide here, this temporary loss that you've got here is not a problem because you get such a better sweep through the right here. As long as you can then keep it to the left, ready for the fast right onto the back straight, which you clearly do, because that's actually another section here, where although right here I'm going faster, you then go faster onto the back straight. So what overall, I'm just going to say, keep doing what you're doing. That's a really long-winded way of saying what you're doing there is better. There are a couple of places, or really one in particular, really only one place I'd say to just tweak, and I don't know if you're doing this every lap, just into the final corner. It's like the only place where I then gain back on you. So you would have been a tenth ahead, you end up a couple of hundredths behind, purely because of this 1/10 loss into the last corner. So you
I
can.
couldn't take it in fourth gear because the faster, even the second last corner, I felt the car. It's that sort of rock to the car, and as soon as that back end goes, it loses it. So I felt safer going a little bit slower in and then sort of planting it through.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the in terms of like technique difference, you're getting on the power earlier. I guess that's because you've slowed it down more earlier as well. So that's probably a bit misleading just there, because you wouldn't be getting on the power earlier if you were going faster. But this little extra bit of brake here is how I'm getting the nose in. But you say it's not getting the nose in that's the problem. It's kind of the opposite. So I'm actually braking less than you, but braking slightly longer. It's like a slight additional trail. And also turning the wheel less. You can see you've got a little bit more of an aggressive right turn here. It's only like 10 degrees, 15 degrees steering lock. And then you come off the steering quicker as well. But it's like, I guess, normally I'm not the smooth one. Like, normally I'm the one that's using a bit too much lock or a little bit too fast. And we're talking minuscule differences here. This all looks magnified because it's 1/10 over like this whole period. But it is the only place on the lap where there's like a step. Like, obviously there's this bit here, but that's more of an oscillation because we're doing a very different technique. Whereas here, it's pretty obvious, like, that version, like the blue version is quicker than the red version just there. And yeah, but again, we're talking 1/10. So you've seen this now. You know, basically, if you can do the same as you did on your 1:10.1 through the entire lap, there might be a 1:9.9 there if you've just polished the final corner as well. But I don't really care about you going any quicker than what you've already done. It's more about getting to that more of the time, because when you look at your entire run, that was the only lap within 3/10 of that lap, if that makes sense. So we want to be in this zone all the way through. So that's the aim. So don't worry too much about the ultimate lap. Yeah. It's just nice to know that, you know, you don't have to completely change what you're doing in any way. Like, you're clearly basically there, and there's just a tiny bit of maybe left in the final corner. And obviously, if we did like 100 laps of just pushing for a fast lap, yeah, you're definitely going to find more time than that. But you'll have more benefit not losing time on these laps. And obviously, I know, like 120, obviously if something's gone wrong. 118, that doesn't really count. But we just want to be, what did we say, 50% of the laps in the 110s for this first run? What did you do on this run here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those weren't in the 110s on that one. Yeah, so it's not a crazy aim. Like, it's not a, you know, it's let's try and do all of them under, all of them in the 111s at least, and then 50% of them in the 110s, and then we'll on the next run do 50% under 110.5. So let's do that.
Did you want camera on so you can see?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I don't know if this is going to be good. Just see how it looks on your end. If it actually boots up. Is that coming through?
Not yet. It might do in a minute. And don't worry too much if it doesn't.
Yeah, okay.
The pictures have a long way to travel around the world.
Yeah, true that. Actually, I think my dog might have unplugged it.
Okay. So normally at this point I'd say, like, no pressure, but actually the whole point of this is a bit of pressure. So yeah, you should feel bad if you screw up on this one.
Well, that's really what I'm aiming for. Like, I've definitely managed to get my consistency better, but I found that because of a lot of it's endurance racing, it's really just about playing it safe more than doing your best.
Yeah. But if you're able to do what we're trying to do in this session, then you'll be even safer when you're driving in those endurance races. Right, I'll keep quiet, but I am watching. Good job for trying that in fourth. Yeah, so I'm seeing that oversteer. I don't have any of that, so I think that's because you're using a bit more brake pressure. So maybe just reduce the brake pressure by like 5% to avoid that oversteer. 1099 straight away. Amazing. I bet we see an improvement through that final corner then. That might be slightly ambitious entry speed that time. Okay, so we're still under 50% of the laps in the 110s, so we need a few more 110s. This is good though, you know, because what we've seen is your peak is still clearly there. Like you can pull out the lap, but on this run, even though you're able to go faster than before and you know you can do it, the average is still not in the 110s. So as I know you know, we've got a 12.5, a 9.9, an 11.2, and obviously this one's not going to be quicker. So all the rest of these now, we've got another 6 flying laps. Yeah, this is the end of the fourth one. So all the rest of these now need to be a 110. So fast-ish, but safe. And you've got a 1 second window there to use. versus your limit. So that should be easily achievable. So that was all nice and tidy. So 5 to go. And this is looking, without seeing the delta, this is looking consistent now. This looks a lot more comfortable on board as a passenger. Good job. All right, 3 more then. This is great. Two to go. Awesome. One more flying lap. Dan, that was absolutely mega. Second half of that run was awesome. Through the final corner, you were just so consistent. And another 9.9 to finish. Okay, right. Just stop there, have a rest. I think you can consider that one a success. That literally, it was like a switch in the middle of that run. And you just focused. And like 6, 4, 5, 1, 2, and then into the 9s again. Like, really good. So on a track like this that's quite hard to be consistent on, that was pretty consistent. I think the only reason that there's an inconsistency among that set of laps is that you're just getting more and more used to the track and car combo. Like, you're just getting better at driving this car around here. Because now you've had, in that whole run, a couple of 9.9s and a 10.1. Like, you're just kind of lowering your kind of potential lap time, like your outright lap time. So now we just want to get closer to that more. So you did get more than 50% of those laps in the 110s. So obviously I'm counting the 19s as well. So what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so that was, in the end, relatively easy, despite 3 of them at the beginning. Obviously the 114 here is an out lap, so that doesn't count. But the 12, 11 and the 14, that's all it was. Just those 3 that weren't. So on the next run, obviously you're now capable of doing 110.5 or below quite easily, because if I asked you to do 50% of the laps in the 110.5s, we've already done that, haven't you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's like 6 of those of your 7, 6 of your 7 were already in the 110.5s. So we need a harder target, basically. And you're gonna hate this now, because this is like actually genuinely hard work for you now. We're not gonna sit and look at data. We will look at the data briefly just to see you versus you, and just see how much you gained in that final corner, for example. But really, I think we should, with a short rest.
Just so you know, that last lap,
Yeah.
I gained, I think, 1.5 tenths through the last corner.
Okay. Let's just bring it up now.
On my best.
Okay, so let's just do you versus you, and let's grab. So I know you've got your fastest one here was earlier. Let's do the one you did at the end, just because it's more representative of what your, your latest version of driving this track. Oh, that's annoying. It deleted your previous one. Let's get rid of that. Garage 61 does this sometimes, doesn't it? It just like loses a lap for no reason. So what was it before?
I find it can be it can be a bit clunky at times.
Yeah, it sometimes takes a while to load. I think overall that's good. Right, okay, so let's swap these around. This is your rest period briefly, but we're going to go flat out again. Okay, so your old one was the green, your new one is the purple. Yeah, look at the last corner. Like, you really, really do gain a chunk through there. Where were you before that, though? So you're actually quite a long way down at this point. You were 3...
Yeah, I butchered the hairpin, so I went in I went in too hot, I think.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So pink is down this entire time, and pink loses low. I actually think you went in a little slow, or something happened here. Look, where your speed into that fast right is lower, almost like you were braking earlier, because it's there. This is where the time loss is. So if we look at the pink one, like here, to here is where you lose like 3/10 or so, and it's all from like actually going in. Look, because you don't go wide, the pink line stays tighter, and then you're tighter on exit. It's like the one that you go in quicker, and you go a little wider on entry here and a little wider on exit. That's actually the one that ends up being the better one.
Okay.
So there's some time. We're not necessarily looking for time, but if you can easily find a couple of tenths like that, then obviously it's easier to safely do all the laps quicker. So, but yeah, overall, just generally really good, and you're still like changing between whether you're using second or first through that right hander there, which is interesting. I saw a couple of differences. When was it quicker? The one that was quicker was the one that you used second. Yeah, you had quite a big gain actually. So you go from 2/10 down to 1/10 up. So another big swing there in this little zone here. Yeah, staying in second seems to be working better for you through that right. I think maybe the green just went a bit deep as well. Maybe just understeered wide. But anyway, we didn't need to look at that too much. The thing that I really wanted to see was there. And obviously, yeah, staying in fourth and just carrying that speed through the last corner is just a bit quicker. That's all. So that's good. Keep doing it. Aim, though, in this next one, we'll do another 10. I think 10 is a good number of laps. I think we need to... You already did 50% of them or more under 1:10.5. Let's this time not have anything that is not in the 1:10s. So if you do a lap which isn't in the 1:10s, we'll reset, start again, and go again until you've done every single lap in the 1:10s or 1:9s. We want to just avoid this, like the 12 and the 11 and the 14 that are thrown in there. Because for all that good work you did, doing loads and loads of 10s and 9s, just those couple of laps where it went wrong, someone who was half a second, well, maybe not half a second, someone who's a couple of tenths off you would have still beaten you over a race distance, over a 10-lap race there. So let's not let that happen.
Yep.
Good start. Remember, we're going to reset if you screw one up, so this is a good start. 9 to go. Nicely controlled. I thought you went in a bit hot there, but you were good in the end.
I think I just saved that one
Okay.
from being over.
Okay, so 4 laps in, everything in the 110s, but so far nothing under a 110.5. So if we want 50% of these under a 110.5, we've got a little bit of work to do. But 100% in the 110s is still on target. I'll ignore that. That looked like an off track, but I'm going to ignore it. I got one for going there, so I just can't see when you get one. Really decent looking last corners now, though. Like the speed through the final corner looks nice.
Oh, I
Okay,
snuck that in.
Well
Very
done.
just.
Just need another 4 of those. You've got one joker that can be over a 110.5 now. I don't know what the delta looked like, but that sector looked nice to me. Very nice. So 2.5 laps to go. So we need at least 2 more of these to be under a 1:10.5. Final 2 laps, let's go. That was a nice corner. Right, 1 more lap. Let's go. Well done, man. You deserve a bit of a rest for a moment. That was great. Good job, man.
Now.
Okay, so we didn't actually
That was
technically
hard that
clarify. Yeah, it looked hard, but you did it. We didn't clarify whether or not you fail if you get an off track. So I think the fact that you managed to have you managed to run wide on the exit of the last corner, go through the gravel, and still come in 4/10 under your target of 1:10 is a good job. So I'm thinking at the end of this run, at the end of the session, I might get ChatGPT to plot these in like a consistency comparison graph for me, because this will be quite interesting. But that was so good. Obviously, again, ignoring the 114s, it's an outlap. Everything in the 110s. And how many was it? You did do 5, didn't you? Under 110.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 under 110.5. So you did all the targets. But that's difficult. Really, really difficult to do. On this track, in this car, where like one little mistake, if you lock a brake once, you're going straight off. I mean, when I did my practice, look how many times I went off to begin with. Like, I'm doing 127 and then a 113, just like falling off the edge of the track. And yeah, and you're just managing to consistently pretty much nail it. Although there's some inconsistency within your consistency. Sometimes you're running a little wide, but you're saving it in other areas. So I think in this next run, so we've got time for another run. I think we should still do a 10-lap run, because that works quite well. It's like a good length where your driving brain is being fatigued a bit. It's an effort to have to keep going. I could hear it in your voice. Like that's not easy to just, especially when you've got a specific target. You could do this without me sitting here, but you can kind of let yourself screw up and go, well, no one saw that, so it doesn't matter. But because you've got a pair of eyes watching you, it is harder to do it, and you cope well. So I think the only thing
that's it as well. It is 27 degrees and about 80% humidity, so I'm dying at the moment.
Even better. It's freezing cold over here, so it's easy for me sat here. I've got a fan on, but that's only because the computer's here. Basically, on this next run, I think we don't want to take 1, 2, 3, 4, so 5 laps effectively to get into those 1:10.5s. You can do 1:09s. So if you're hovering around, if you're taking like 4 laps to do, to get down to within half a second of what you can ultimately do, I think we're wasting a few early laps. So I think 2 laps is more than enough to get the tyres warm and to a point where you could be. You don't have to be on the 1:99s, but I think you can get in the 1:10.5s quicker than that. So, especially with all the practice you've now had. So I think the target on this next one should be to have at least 7 out of the 10 in the 1:10.5s. And actually, let's stretch this a bit. You can do 1:10.3s and below with a bit of pressure. On that run, you did 3 of those. So let's say no more than 2 laps to get down to the 1:10.5s, and from that point onwards, none of them higher than that, and with as many as possible. Like, don't worry if this goes wrong. I won't make you restart this time, but so you still don't have a lot of freedom. I don't want you to have a lap that goes in the bin, but once you're down below 1:10.5s, I think we should be pressing on to the very fastest times you can, risking it slightly more than you were in the last one. That last run was a bit more about, can you be consistently, within that second the whole time. This time it's, how quickly can you get to those faster times and stay there. So, yeah. You still aren't allowed any that are above a 1:10, even from the first ones. But let's just try and get below 1:10.5 pretty immediately. That was very nice and accurate for a first flying lap through there.
Right, I think that lockup just cost me big time.
Okay. Okay, so let's start from now then. This is going to be effectively your first flying lap, since we haven't done one yet. I know I said I wasn't going to make you start again, but since it was the first one, I think we can. Okay, good. Good start. I'm really enjoying watching you through that final corner now. After you said, after your first run, that you couldn't do it in fourth, now you're just smashing it. Really nice. So 5 laps to go, including this one. Really, really excellent start.
20 minutes remaining. You've got 20 minutes left.
Really good. 3 to go. Sorry, 2 to go.
Including this one?
Yeah, if I'm not counting incorrectly. So, 1, 2. Yeah, 2 to go, including this one.
Phil. 15 minutes left. That's 15 minutes.
Great job, man. You can rest. I've just been inputting your times into ChatGPT to give me a graph to compare those, see if it does it. Really nice, though. I mean, look at that. Look what you were capable of there. Like, after that first lap, we went and then did every single one under a 1 minute 10.5, and most of them close to a 1:10.0 effectively, you know, within a couple of tenths. How did it feel?
Mate, that's...
You feel knackered?
Yeah, but it's one of those, I don't know if it's the track or it's the car, but when you bake a corner, I'm starting to look, okay, I've gone deep into this corner, but that means I can make it up on that exit.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not all lost. Like you can kind of mitigate it slightly.
yeah.
Right, I'm hoping it's going to give us a bit of a graph here for you to see just how well you did compared to yourself. I haven't tried this before, but let's see. Okay, it's telling me. No, I don't want to do it myself. It's produced us a lovely little lap time chart, but I want to actually see it as a line. Input the data in Google Sheets. Please make me the image yourself.
Oh God.
If not, I'll just send it to you. But yeah, that was really good. So basically, I hope you feel tired, like a bit mentally tired from that. I certainly wouldn't have enjoyed having to just go and do those 3 runs that we've just done there. Like, that's a lot of laps. I know it's not a massive track, but that's a lot of laps where you can't really afford a mistake. And actually, you made very, very few real errors. You've gone from, like, being able to do 1 in maybe 10 laps down in that lower, you know, right at the lower end of what you're capable of, to now, I know you didn't do any 109s there, but your average time is just so much closer to that. Like, as a race stint, that was like clearly the best. Like you've wasted so much less time, and the one before was good. You know, the previous one was good, but you've basically moved, what would you say, maybe 3 tenths on average closer to where you could be as a complete potential. I think it's sometimes just really good to put yourself through that. You know, put your driving brain through that stress of having to do that, especially because this track and this car combo doesn't matter at all. Like, you've basically wasted your time there in terms of like learning a specific car track combo. That's not very useful to you. But in terms of the pressure management, I think that is quite useful. Oh, it says I currently don't have the ability to generate images directly. Okay, well, what I'll do is then I will just take those sets and I'll make a graph myself. But in a minute.
Okay, cool.
And I'm going to send.
I think the good thing about that though, even though you say it's wasted on the car track combo, I think that's a good track.
Yes.
For a car like this, where it's got the slower corners yet the faster corners as well, because that's where I struggle with. I'm okay in this, like, I'm not great, but I'm better at the harder braking zones. It's those fast corners where there's not really a brake point. It's more of an entry speed. Because I just go by feel, and I struggle with that.
I think because the track's too narrow for this car, it's not the kind of car. It's a big, fast car to drive on, like a little club circuit like this. It really emphasises how the different line compromises make a difference. Like if you go wide and cut back, or if you stay tight, or if you try and carry a little bit too much speed into a corner, you've just got so much less space to play with. So you have to like fix it or be proactive really early. And like watching you on board, I was sat there feeling like really comfortable that you were going to make like the right decision. And as the laps went on more and more, and you were capable of, and you were down in the sub 1 minute 10.5s, I didn't really feel like you were going to make an error, like you were going to do anything that was going to put you off track or lose you half a second or so. I just felt more and more confident that you were on top of it, which I know is partly just because you've had much more practice than you had before now, but still, like the lap time differences are so small. It just, I don't know, made me confident that you were able to drive at that limit without overstepping it by mistake. Like you were very deliberate in what you in your actions with the car.
I think also it's just that there's that little bit of a buffer that I'm slowly. That's what I need to work on, is that little bit of a comfort buffer where not trying to not make a mistake, but knowing what to do when I make the mistake to pull out early enough and recognize it. I think that's where since I've been working with you, that's what I've tried to do. Because before it was just don't make the mistake, because if it happens, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, you've
And I'm
got, by being able to consistently get to those lower times and knowing you can do it, you've got like the headroom to, you know, that you've got like this safety net of several tenths that, if necessary, you know, you can afford to lose a little bit here, a little bit there, because overall, as long as there's no major mistake on the rest of the lap, you're still going to be in that right ballpark, and it's just basically like crushing down how much of that safety net you actually use on each lap of a run. I think, managed to get averages for each of those. Yeah, so this is exactly what it looked like. So your average was 70.8 seconds, so 1 minute 10.8 for the first run. And then you did 1 minute 10.6 average for the second run, and 1 minute 10.3 average for the third run. So run 1 to run 3, you've effectively gone half a second a lap quicker as an average, which over 10 laps is a big chunk of time. Like, that's just genuinely, you'd just be so much further up the road. So, and that is with, exactly, that's 5 seconds in 10 laps, which is huge. So that's really, really good. That's really good. I think that's the kind of exercise we should actually probably do more often. You were maybe a bit too much of a good test bed for that, because you're a bit of like a A-grade student in this kind of thing. But I think for all of the guys that do this coaching, we should maybe step back from practicing next week's track or whatever it is that they're specifically focused on, and do something wildly different like that, because you executed that really well. I think there's a real benefit to that.
Well, I did a couple of, because we've been doing the endurances every couple of weeks.
Yeah, and thanks for kind of taking that on as a bit of a team captain there. That's really cool. Like, the guys clearly really appreciate doing that stuff with you.
Yeah, I'm doing 2 different ones this weekend.
Okay.
So actually, Serge, because I'm doing one with Tom, Bill, and Lewis. I don't know who Lewis is. I actually haven't spoken to him yet, but Tom's young
Lewis,
and eager.
yeah, I don't know Lewis. I'm trying to see who
Yeah.
that is. That's a new person who's just like appeared.
Yeah, but I think Tom might know him, because Tom sent me a message in the group today just asking if he was asking my permission if he could join the
Right. Okay. Maybe
endurance,
that's,
and I was like, yeah.
maybe that's how he's come in then. So maybe that's not someone I know. But that's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah. Oh, like I said to him, mate, the more the merrier. But then Serge is a bit stuff on time, so I'm doing the 8-hour with the boys at 8 o'clock Saturday night my time, and then 5 a.m. Sunday I'm doing the 3-hour with Serge.
Wow. Okay.
But one of the things that I was talking to Serge about this week is like really throwing it out there, sort of probably next month to the boys, and if you're keen to, like, obviously I don't want to step